Greetings, this is Shomik Dipnila and I am going to present our work on Bangla dialect translation using open source language models. Our research focuses on evaluating how modern, multilingual and instruction-tuned LLMs perform when translating regional Bangla dialects into standard Bangla while preserving semantic meaning and linguistic diversity. If I talk about our motivation, Bangla is spoken by more than 260 million people and contains significant regional variation. However, most NLP systems are trained primarily on standard Bangla, collected from formal sources such as newspapers, Wikipedia, and curated corpora. As a result, peripheral dialects are underrepresented and often behave like how low-resource languages within the Bangla language family itself. This creates a major challenge because existing translation and language understanding systems frequently fail to preserve local vocabulary, phonology, and cultural context. Our work attempts to systematically evaluate whether modern open source LLMs can bridge the gap. If I talk about the research problem, the central problem of this research is that current Bangla NLP systems do not generalize well to regional dialects, even though multilingual LLMs are becoming increasingly powerful. Their performance on dialect normalization and translation remains poorly studied. We wanted to investigate three important questions. First, how well do open source LLMs translate Bangla dialects into standard Bangla? Second, do larger models consistently outperform smaller models? And third, are traditional evaluation metrics such as BLUE sufficient for measuring translation quality in dialectal settings? For this study, we collected dialect standard Bangla sentence pair from multiple regional datasets. The datasets contain informal expressions, phonological variations, and localized vocabulary. They are usually absent from mainstream Bangla corpora. Each dialect sentence was paired with its standard Bangla equivalent. The goal was to create a realistic benchmark for evaluating translation quality under low resource dialect conditions. We evaluated several open source instruction tuned models. These include GPT OSS 20B, Quen 38B, and Compact 3V scale models. The motivation behind selecting different parameter scales was to understand whether translation quality improves primarily because of architecture or because of vocabulary and linguistic coverage. All models were evaluated under identical prompting conditions to ensure fairness. Our methodology consisted of four major stages. First, we prepared and cleaned the dialect standard sentence pairs. Second, we prompted each model to translate dialectical Bangla into standard Bangla. Third, we evaluated the outputs using both lexical and semantic metrics. And finally, we analyzed qualitative translation behavior across dialect regions. We intentionally include semantic aware evaluation because dialect translation often has multiple correct lexical forms. If I talk about the evaluation metrics, we use several evaluation metrics in the work. BLUE was used to measure lexical overlap between generated and reference translations. Therefore, we also use semantic aware metrics such as BART score or comment. These metrics evaluate contextual and semantic similarity rather than exact token overlap. This allowed us to better capture translation quality for dialectal language. Our experiments revealed several important findings. GPT OSS 20B and Quen 38B consistently achieved the best overall performance across both lexical and semantic metrics. The larger models preserved meaning more effectively and handled dialect-specific vocabulary better. In contrast, smaller 3B models struggled significantly with peripheral dialects. Interestingly, we observed that architecture alone was not main limitation. Vocabulary coverage and exposure to diverse linguistic patterns appear to play a much larger role. If I talk about our key observation, one of the most important observations from our study is the BLUE score alone can be misleading. In several cases, translations with relatively low blue scores uh, still preserve the correct semantic meaning. Semantic error metrics like bar score and comment provided much clearer picture of actual translation quality. This suggests that future dialect translation research should move beyond purely lexical evaluation methods. If I talk about some error analysis, we also performed qualitative error analysis. Smaller models frequently hallucinated meanings, omitted regional terms, or produced partially untranslated outputs. Some models over-normalized dialect expressions and lost important cultural nouns. Larger models showed better contextual understanding but still struggled with highly localized vocabulary that was rarely represented in training data. Our work makes several contributions. First, we provide a benchmark oriented evaluation of open source LLMs for Bangla dialect translation. Second, we demonstrate the limitations of lexical only evaluation metrics. Third, we show that compact models require better vocabulary exposure and dialect specific fine tuning to perform effectively. And finally, our findings highlight the importance of preserving linguist diversity in low resource NLP research. For future work, we plan to expand the dataset to include more dialect regions and larger conversational contexts. We are also interested in adversarial robustness testing for dialect translation systems. Another promising direction is dialect error fine tuning and retrieval augmented translation systems. Ultimately, we hope this work contributes toward more inclusive and linguistically responsive in Bangla NLP systems. To conclude, our study shows that modern open source LLMs have strong potential for Bangla dialect translation, especially larger instruction tuned models such as GPT OSS 20B and Qwen 3 8 billion. However, smaller models still face substantial limitations due to insufficient dialect exposure and vocabulary coverage. We also demonstrate that semantic error evaluation metrics are essential for properly measuring translation quality in dialectical settings. Thank you for your attention. I would be happy to answer any questions.